Okay.
Hello, my name is Carissa Doherty. I'm one of the founders of Exceptional ND. My sister has left me off leash. I'm on my own today, and then Doji Peacock was not available, so I get to interview Dr. Tiffany Wyse on my own. And we met just a year ago, but I've heard her name forever. I've heard about her forever, about herbal medicine, and I know she works at Viriditas. And we had the opportunity to go meet Tiffany and the owner of Viriditas just a couple months ago, and it was just a nice and a beautiful, beautiful experience. And it's what you would think that a herbal location would be like big bottles of herbal concoctions and drying herbs, and it was a lovely experience. And you're a lovely person, so I was just wondering, I don't know, like how did you become a naturopath? What's a bit of your story?
Uh, well, I had a long road to naturopathy. I mean, I grew up surrounded by plants and trees. Little did I know how much greatness was there, or maybe I did in some way. But I grew up in the Rouge area of Toronto, so now it's called the Rouge National Park. But really, when I was in, and so always sort of like talking to people and having tea with them was sort of part of my journey from youth until now. In university, though, I took a course called Native Self-Government, which was about the bringing back Indigenous languages and how, and I ended up going to Six Nations, and they were bringing these elders in to teach the young children. And they weren't official teachers, but they were the elders. And I thought, wow, that's pretty amazing. Bringing elders in to teach young ones what life is like. This is pretty cool. And so their education model, the way that they talked about it, was holistic. And I also thought, like, what is holistic? This makes a lot of sense to me, but I don't, nobody talks about it in my circles. Like, what is this? So that was something in the background. And I ended up moving to Scotland. And then after that to South Korea, where I taught. And while I was there, I spent a lot of time in the mountains with like Buddhist monks. And I learned about their natural healing and found ginseng roots and so did a lot of sort of wild harvesting there, and also was introduced more to the concept of nutrition, because when I was there they would say, oh, come on, Tiffany, eat this, and I'd smell it and look at it and say, like, oh, I don't know about that. And they'd say, no, you need it, it's good for you. And so the idea of something not necessarily tasting good, but nourishing us was something that I thought, wow, this is sort of back to that holistic understanding. And it brought me to a point, like my grandmother was Russian, and my grandmother would always give us soup before anything else. And in Korea as well, they would say, well, you need to have something warm before you have something cold. So you have soup, so that prepares your stomach to digest the food that will come. And so like, this is amazing. How come I never learned this in school, and how come my peers don't know this? Like, I feel so much better. Can I learn more? And so I thought, oh, well, maybe I'll learn Chinese medicine and or Asian medicine. And I thought, well, I don't know. I live in Toronto. Like, there's a lot of people that know a lot more than I do there. And after that, I discovered the naturopathic college. And so all the pieces just fit together in a way that I couldn't have imagined myself. And so I found the naturopathic college, and that offered botanical medicine and Asian medicine and nutrition. And I just thought, this is incredible. This is it. And at the same time, I knew this is just the beginning. Like I entered into the college knowing that that was the base for more.
How did you know that? Because we just had a student today. It's one of the reasons we were just saying bye to her and we were late. Sorry. But the idea that you'd have to research and go like research and keep updated and keep learning was a new idea for her. So she's like, I'm in fourth year, I'm done my school. And we're like, oh no, oh no, no, like no. And it was
I
foreign.
yes, I don't I wonder if it was because I came out of university like and was still sort of like, well, what do I know? Oh, and I was a teacher, so I learned I did like um I a degree in teaching, and so I was teaching students, and that's also where I had this aha where I was like, well, what am I actually teaching? Wouldn't it be amazing with these concepts that I had learned? Wouldn't it be amazing to actually teach people how to live well? I thought like, these other, and at that point we weren't really learning a lot or learning how to teach a lot of the classics.
Hmm.
And so, which I think is really important now too, in all set, like that's why I love herbal medicine, because that's the foundation really of all medicine, right? Um, so so yeah, I came out of teaching sort of like I much prefer, so thank you, Chris. I much prefer speaking one-on-one as opposed to like in big groups. And so teaching was like, whoa, teaching in a big group. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great to have tea and to help people understand like how to live well the way they're meant to be. And these naturopathic medicine just to seem to check off all the boxes. And then in terms of learning more and using, I don't know, maybe I'm naturally, I don't know, the more people I talk to, the more people I meet, like, it's like, wow, I'm always amazed at like, this is amazing, what's happening with them. And so like, well, I may have a certain amount of studying behind me, but there's always room to like grow. And so I don't know. So that's how I knew that the college would be something as a to to start with and then go towards something else. And then I met John and it was like, okay,
That was it.
that
That was
yeah,
it.
then it was like, well, I have a lot to learn. I'd keep
How,
learning.
when did you meet him?
I think I met John for the first time. I did like a little tincture making course at CCNM.
Okay.
But then I I I spent more time with John and Susan at Viriditas because I worked with a naturopath named Hannah Weidenfeld at her clinic.
Yep.
So eventually she worked in Newmarket and I lived in Parkdale in Toronto. And Viriditas was sort of on the way. So I would say, well, I'll just stop and pick up the tinctures and then drive to your place instead of having them shipped. And when I did that, I would talk to John and Susan more. And then they invited me to take the course and and then one day uh, I don't know, by the grace of God, somehow John said, well, so do you want to work here? And BRD does. This is amazing. And so at first I started on the production side. So I got to get my hands into the herbs, which I loved. And I thought, this is it. Like this is herbal medicine at its finest. And then eventually I moved my practice here. John and I shared an office and then I had an office in different parts of the building until I got this space. So yeah.
And how many years have you been practicing total?
Total,
Like you and I are close in age. I think I'm 21 or 22 out.
I have to think.
I
So
know.
10, 7, 8, I think 16 years.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah. You're not. I'm way older. Yeah. I was, because
In naturopathic age,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah, yeah. I remember John Redden in school a little bit, but I was just in the weeds. So I think he used to teach, right, at CCNM, but I don't know if
Yeah.
he taught when we were there.
Not when I was there. He just came in for like a botanical class after hours kind of thing. The club, the botanical club.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I don't know when he stopped teaching. I don't know how, at CCNM.
It might have been, I mean, it might have been when it was first opened. It might have been like those first couple of years, but I thought he taught for a fairly long time, and then I think it became more strict on like you need a PhD or you need this or you need like certain classifications to teach. And he's like, "Oh, I've just been doing it forever and I'm amazing." They're like, "Yeah, that's not good enough." We're like,
Yeah.
"Okay, all right."
Okay.
That's what Susan was telling us at lunch that one time is that
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was more
that's
the
true.
politics, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
And then how do you use botanical medicine in your practice? Because I think some people don't necessarily know how to incorporate. I mean, you're within Viriditas, so it may be theoretically easier, but how would like if people who are thinking about incorporating it or incorporate it but want more herbal medicine, what would you kind of have as suggestions?
In a way to use with the patients.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some foundational tinctures that we have, like sometimes it's useful to have things for cold and flu.
Yeah.
People are often really amazed with things like cough syrup that work really well right away. And so that's sort of like a way to introduce patients to herbal medicines and for them to see how they work well. Um, what else? For patients who are taking a lot of little white pills or need to take a lot,
Yeah.
yeah, and then get tired of swallowing, sometimes they find it a relief to be able to have herbs to sip or take as a tea.
Mhm.
Um, what else? What else can I say?
I know I mean, it must be so much embedded in your practice. Are you mostly herbal medicine
I
versus
would say,
pills?
yeah,
Yeah.
most definitely. Most definitely. Yeah. And
It's
nutrition too. Or like herbs in the like for kid herbs in the soup pot, right?
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like astragalus and rice. Um, what like medicinal mushrooms and whatever anybody is cooking up.
Yep.
We have like chaga java, which is like that people can drink with their coffee.
Nice.
They can put a spoonful in with their coffee to sort of
Mhm.
make it so they have less coffee, more chaga, or to wean them from coffee. Yeah, so that's
And I guess you have people in different stages in uses, but I always wonder about doses.
yeah,
So I think sometimes we get taught something and we use something and then we were like, it didn't work. But
yeah.
what are your feeling on
So,
doses?
so John's standards were pretty much the eclectics. So for an adult, 5 mils 3 times a day. And then we kind of vary that based on the age or weight of the child. But really, 3 times a day is important for the body to get the information from the herbs at regular patterns. If people can't do 3 times a day, like morning, noon, and night, then I suggest morning when they get home.
Hmm.
And then in the evening, if it's too hard to cart things around, or I just get them to put their dose for the day in a water bottle and
Hmm.
just sit at it all day.
And do you use mostly herbal tinctures or you do teas or sort of both? Where's your
Well, I do mostly tinctures, but there are some teas, like I love right now gynostemma tea,
Oh,
which is really helps with blood pressure. So the Chinese call it the herb of immortality. So especially for women entering into like perimenopause, the postmenopausal age who have fluctuations in blood pressure,
mhm.
where their adrenals are running out, maybe their thyroid is a little sluggish, metabolism is a little sluggish. The gynostemma tea, they seem to really find invigorating, and it helps to regulate the blood pressure.
So
So
do
that,
you,
yeah,
yeah, do you use the herbs as like they have a thyroid issue, here's a thyroid plan, or you do it holistically? Like you do the herbs not per system, but per the person.
yes, for the person.
Wow. Like I don't think I learned them like that. So I guess that's your,
So that's a whole, well, and then
that's
there's
a,
a whole, with the dosaging, there's a whole Matthew Wood sort of Lise Wolf drop dosing
mhm,
plan too. Like I had a woman today, this morning, and I gave her, I'll tell you what her sort of plan was. Like I
mhm,
think she came in a couple of months ago, uh, perimenopause with gallstones. So I gave her a tincture for gallstones, cholelithotriptic. And then she said she had like foggy brain. And so and focus concerns at, especially at work, or she needed to really be on the ball for this new job that she had. So I gave her a tincture called Clear and Bright, which has a lot of nootropic herbs in it. And then what did she say? She said she has PMS, and she gets like um sort of like hot tempered and sometimes tension and sort of like a headache. And so I gave her the triptych and the Clear and Bright for about 5 mils 3 times a day, or the Clear and Bright also whenever she felt like she needed more focus. And then I told her to take drop doses of the verbena.
oh,
And so today she just reported like, because she needed a refill, and she's like, oh, so everybody's happy about the verbena, by the way.
this is the,
And she's like, not that I'm giving it to everyone, but they're happy with me
and
using. And that's just drops.
drops,
Yeah.
drops.
Like maybe 3 drops.
How does that work? Like, is it that more homeopathic or it's dose? But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, you're trying to remind the body, like, I don't think you're
Just
not,
like a song, like like almost like listening to a song, right? Just giving that little, remember this pattern in the body
yeah.
and how.
And would you give it like in different bottles, like her main, the gallstones like in a bigger bottle and then the other ones in little ones, so they're
Yeah.
all kind of like as needed but separate for separate indications.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
how you
The
guys.
little bottles are great because then they can just put them in their purse. It's like,
Mhm,
and then drop doses are helpful because then it's just a little bottle. They can sort of like rescue remedy,
mhm.
right? And just take a few drops. Mm.
And we didn't learn all that. We did. How do
We
you?
didn't learn that.
we
And
didn't-
John, that's not a that and John didn't does it won't say that in his classes either. That's mm, sort of like, I guess, the homeopathic influence that
Mhm.
we have in our training
Yeah.
informing my practice, and then listening and reading more of Matthew's
Mhm. I
take
love
on
it.
things and mhm,
How
mhm.
big would you? How big would your doses ever be? Like how
Uh,
like how big could you go in a like an alcohol tincture?
so with deep immune,
Mhm.
sometimes with people that have like major immune deficiencies or cancer, they
Mhm.
might take 2 tablespoons a day.
Yeah.
So like 30 mils a day.
Yep. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I was looking for the Viriditas catalog. Sometimes I'll be in a bad mood and I'll just pull the catalog out. And the and so I'm like I put it, I guess I put it back because I had to like put it back. But sometimes I'll be like, oh, okay. And like it's just a beautiful catalog because it's got
Isn't it?
indications. Yeah, it's very calming. Just reading the catalog is calming.
Well, and the website is meant to work kind of like the catalog,
Yeah.
John, and the website at Viriditas is meant, John didn't want to just give answers like diagnosis equals this herb.
Mhm.
He wanted practitioners to be able to consider an intake and then come up with an individual plan and tincture or combination for that specific patient.
Mhm.
And so what he learned along the way was that, we don't have a lot of time and we want the formulas made. And sometimes I'll add to the formula. So I might take like uh, a formula like even Deep Immune today, someone that might be dealing with like the post-viral spike proteins or something like that. And I
Yep.
might add like Scutellaria bicalensis and Salvia miltiorhiza to the medicinal mushrooms just to help buffer some of the inflammation. And so that's how I sort of use the combinations and then make them patient specific.
Mhm.
But the website is, yeah, the catalog is something else. And it's meant to help us see everything and give reverence to the herbs in a way in their actions and to
Mhm.
see and to we can see like how many times does glycyrrhiza pop up in every body system, right?
Mhm.
So many
Mhm.
places.
Yeah.
Well, when can't we use
Yeah.
right? Like
Yep.
it's really neat to see.
So
Yeah.
I know you
Mhm.
have so many base formula there's so many base formulas, but do you wind up using a lot of your own formulas or do you wind up, I guess, patient independent, but because you have access to all
Probably
the bases. Yeah.
yes. Yes. Um, Probably more of the combination,
Yeah.
but I might add to the combination depending on the person or depending on what's going on these days.
Mhm.
One of my other favorite formulas right now is Hydrastis pylori.
Ooh.
So John designed that one for H. pylori,
Mhm.
but I've been using it for all kinds of things, digestive upset, sometimes leaky gut. Sometimes I'll add like an antifungal to it.
Mm.
Sometimes I add like Monarda is a beautiful, bee balm is a beautiful herb. And it seems to be working really well. Right now, I'm using it sometimes for like, don't know if you've heard like the cough that doesn't go away,
Mhm.
right? And so
Yep.
cough syrup kind of touches it, but not in the same way that it usually would with a cough. So I've
Mhm.
been making like Hydrastis pylori with Solidago, which is for allergies and it helps the kidneys. And it's an anti-catarrhal. And it seems to just work within a day.
Oh, I feel like a bad wife right now, like a really bad wife. I'm pretty sure I brought COVID back from China 2019, and my husband's been coughing since.
Ah,
It triggered the allergy piece, and he's good, but I mean, like, I, you know,
yeah,
I'm not your naturopath. I'm your wife. He's like,
right,
okay,
yeah,
okay. I'm like, go see the naturopath. And
right,
so
yeah.
he's got one, but maybe I'll slip an idea in his naturopath in his naturopath's brain because I see it at home, but I'm sure I see it in practice too. But um, I might I might hear that cough.
He might,
I might have heard that cough for a couple of years.
right? Yeah, and
Yep.
it's different than a cough syrup kind of cough. So that seems to be helping. Sometimes I put tahibuya in there too. Susan says I never say that word right, tahibuya.
I
So
don't even know if I know
please
what
excuse me if I'm not
yeah, I
saying
don't even know
it
that I know what that word, that herb
tahibu,
is.
tahibu, or tahibu is, you'll know it, pau d'arco.
Oh, yes.
Uh,
Yes. Yeah, this is so many folks have that chronic cough. So many folks are sick. I mean, have you seen the change in your patients in the last couple of years?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Have you changed you've changed your protocols because of it? Like you've
Yeah, well, I've had to because
yeah.
kind of like, what's going on?
And then your spike protein piece is the Shazandra and
Scudo
Scutellariae.
licenses, yeah, and Salvia milturiza, because Salvia milturiza is antifibrotic and helps with inflammation in the blood vessels. There's like Chinese research on that
Yeah.
in the 19, yeah.
I
Mhm.
guess that's the thing, right? Herbs have so much variability, but the last couple of years have just been wild for our patients. I guess we got to go back to the earth, back for help.
Well, and I think that herbs are so amazing because they're able to shift, right? And so in some years, some constituents may be higher than in other years, depending on what's going on. And even if we look at like what's growing around, like what herb, why did Japanese knotweed or polygodum cuspidatum, why is it popping up everywhere?
Hmm.
Is it because people need it?
Hmm.
Right? Why is
Yep.
it so tenacious?
There's like, I made it for you. I grew it in your backyard, so you should probably take it. I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah,
I'm getting it. I'm a city naturopath, so I do like the website because you see the herbs. You actually see like pictures of herbs, which I might not see unless I go on the website. It's just I'm in a car, I'm in a mall, and then you get busy.
yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
yeah, it's the fall and all of a sudden it's the spring and you're like, I don't think I went outside that much or you get in the weeds. So
Yes,
sometimes
and
yeah, well, it's sometimes the herbs, the bottles are beautiful, but I do like the idea of the herbs and also the physicality of them.
yeah, me too. Yeah, I think there's something. And then that's the other piece about having tinctures or teas. And tinctures are so much faster for me. So it's like, well, what does this taste like? And then, well, sometimes I'll try, not always, if I'm making a formula. And sometimes I'll say, well, that tastes amazing. Or sometimes an order will come through and whoever's making it will say like, oh, you got to try this.
Oh,
It's
nice.
so good. And so we'll taste it and be like, oh yeah, that is a good
Wow.
nice tasting formula.
So you're still experiencing like creativity and practitioners like surprising you even though you use them all the time. People are
Yeah,
still
yeah.
coming up with ideas and they're
Oh,
like, oh, that's a good that mix is
oh, totally.
oh, that's
Oh,
nice.
totally. Yeah, yeah.
The art and practice comes out in herbal medicine more so.
Yes. And having an understanding about like the beauty of herbs in a sense, like how does it feel on the tongue? Is it drying? Is it warming? Like, is it cooling right away? And then imagining, well, what does that do in a person who has more heat, who has more inflammation, right? If we give
Mhm.
them a cooling herb, that will help bring down that inflammation. But if they don't have a lot of energy, do we also need to balance that with something that doesn't just make them frigid,
Mhm.
right? So that they're
Yeah.
using all their energy to warm themselves up.
And synergistic medicine is like the bread and butter of botanical medicine. The option of it getting, multiple ingredients do more together.
Yeah,
Like just the magic.
yeah,
Yeah, real magic.
yeah. Yeah. And John was like an incredible formulator in that way. Like he had an understanding and a breadth. And so some formulas too, I may have used them for years and then I'll have like an aha moment and be like, wow, John, that was good. That was good.
I just got it. Like I just
Yeah, yeah,
the thought, the layers of thought going in.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the balance that can be. Uh-huh.
I do love getting older in that I feel like the nuances I'm getting more nuances the older I go. Like the more I want to learn, but the more I can then be more aware of those nuances where, life is fast and your patients need you, but if you have support them, you're supporting them and then you're able to nuance
Mhm.
them, that's exciting to sort of be able to provide as a practitioner.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and even herbs as nutritives, like we have a thyroid formula that can help bring up a hypo state, but it's almost a nutritive. So it's
Right.
like it just feeds the body and feeds the thyroid, which I appreciate, and it's pretty easy to take.
Are there more and more practitioners who use herbal medicine? Is it on the decline? Is it on the increase? Where is it in the like in Ontario?
I mean, we have a fair number of naturopathic doctors. I don't know. I mean, I came out of naturopathic school very apprehensive about using herbal medicine, though I loved it.
Mhm.
But I couldn't really say I had like a practical understanding
Mhm.
how to use it. Um, so so we have students that are interested in learning, and NDs who have come through who are really good at putting their own formulas together, like you, Carissa.
I got one.
We got one.
I
We
got
got phone
one.
calls about that one.
I love that John's son. I can't remember his name, but John's son. You just said like lime kill, and he's like, I was like, oh.
Yeah. And so what else? Yeah, so people generally, like, I think herbal medicine is may have a revival. Like, I think there's more interest in the general population. Like, there's a certain portion of people that are going back to the land, right? People are moving out of the city, they're going to buy farms, and who knows what's going to happen, but they're going out and they want to have a farm and have animals, and so I think that movement, they're looking for herbal medicine and how to heal themselves with the nature around them. So I think that there's an interest in herbal medicine, and I think that there's an interest even in big um, big corporations now,
Mhm.
right? For better or for worse. But it's like, well, yeah, herbs really do work,
Mhm.
and they have for centuries. And sometimes we look at them in a different light. Like we used to, way back when, St. John's wort um, was more of a liver herb, or like for and but that could be considered like melancholy. And so if melancholy now is considered depression, or and St. John's wort sort of lifting things up.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't I think it's impossible for herbal medicine to go away.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think it gets hit sometimes, right? Like I think it got hit with Kava Kava, and you and Susan were telling us about the story where John really was involved with Canada understanding that it was the way kava kava was processed before. It has to be extracted using water, and if it's extracted using alcohol, it can have a toxicity. And so, and he's like, but we know that, and we don't do that anymore. So that's old. It's old information. Now it's really safe. And I think every couple of years something pops up that I guess maybe that is the way things work. But I mean, I think right now ashwagandha is in the limelight for toxicity. So it's like, what? It's everywhere. It's just so I feel sometimes I guess that's the way it works, right? Like everyone kind of wants your medicine, they want in on a little bit, but they also want to trash it. And with with a lot of these herbs having such good efficacy and such huge safety, it's hard to sort of hear it. It's hard to hear, you know, this one's now not safe and now this one's not safe. And yeah.
Well, in the studies that look at one study and then that study is then repeated over and over or referenced over and over again, but the original study was not valid.
Yeah. A little flawed, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that happens, and that happened with kava. They weren't looking at the right information, and so John was able, thank goodness, to help out and get that back on track.
For Canada, right? It wasn't like Ontario or like Toronto. It was like Canada. It was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And then
And
we're
uh-huh.
no, you go, you go.
No, I was just going to say we would often talk about different kinds of herbs and safety. And if something like ashwagandha has been used for centuries in India, do we think that at some point someone might say, well, I don't think we should use this anymore, right? Like, why are so many using it if it isn't safe? I think there's enough history and enough empirical evidence that if it were really harming people, they wouldn't be using it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Maybe with herbs sometimes if studies are done with isolated constituents or processed in another way or grown in another fashion,
Mhm.
then sure, it can be detrimental. I mean, why do we pull so many of our patients off of wheat
Yeah.
when wheat was the staff of life,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Well, maybe it's because something has happened to the wheat or how it's been farmed.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's what would you like where would you like our medicine to go? Like where do you see things in the future?
Well, I, I would really like people to have an understanding of the grandmother's medicine, like being able to really look after things at home as much as possible. And for parents, mothers, grandmothers to have a trust in healing their their families with food and nutrition, and then coming for little bouts of expertise should they need it. Yeah.
Is there anywhere they can get that information? Because I know John has a course for practitioners. Do you have any as well, the practitioner piece?
For practitioners learning how to use
Use
her.
herbs. Yeah, but your model is like is amazing and beautiful, but like where would people get that information, or is that from the grandmothers? Like they have to get it from the grandmothers. They have to
Well,
get it.
yeah, for a little while I was like, John did a herb, what to do with the herbs that you have in your kitchen
Oh, nice.
for a little while. So I taught that a little bit to patients or to lay people. I mean, I'm going to talk to a group of midwives. I think midwives and herbal medicine really walk hand in hand. And
Mhm.
so I think that, yeah, helping kids grow with the foundations of good nutrition and good herbs, and having mothers as they're having babies bring bring these little people into the world that have an understanding is something. And for practitioners, John's course is something else. And Taylor's been doing some herb walks. Taylor's Susan's son, and
I met it.
so he's been doing herb walks with Viriditas, and I may start to do more with practitioners. What I would love to do is have like roundtable discussions here with where people could bring in their case studies. And then we could even have like little tastings of herbs. But I just, yeah, wouldn't that be great? Like once a
Yes.
month or once every season, something like
Yeah.
that.
Quarter. Yeah.
I would love to do that. And I've been talking about that since John was teaching his courses. I was like, John, I would love to have
Okay. I'm
um,
gonna
like a
call you.
mentorship in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna text you in or email you in a couple days. I'll like
Yeah,
maybe.
I think that would be great. And then everybody, and like with John's course and even on the website, we put together how to compound a formula. So going from a case study or an intake to a final formula and getting used to doing that with the herbs and having confidence, and then like building a formula and then tasting it and being like, would I take this? It's like, well, yeah, okay. And what could I do to, and like, and so there's a method that John came up with, which is brilliant, that even gives us a way to figure out how to compound with indications and with even like the amounts in a formula. So how many parts, like how many times is one herb repeated in an in your calculations for what to put into the formula. And maybe like glycyrrhiza might come up 5 times. So do we do like 5 parts glycyrrhiza, 4 parts, I don't know, matricaria, chamomile, 3 parts plantain, something like that. And so based on an intake, we can actually come to an individual type formula.
This is very structured.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta take his course. It's on the to-do list. It's on like this is my like to-do list, and it's
Yeah.
in
Oh,
here.
yeah.
It's in here. It's in here.
Have you listened to the first lecture?
A little bit, and then life happens quickly. So no, I not enough.
Yeah. So that always, like, I took John, the beauty of John's course when it was in person too, and I think now with the website, is that we could go once and then come back. Like, so I think I took that course like 10 years in a row, maybe more. Like,
Beautiful.
so every year I could go. And so that first lecture, every time it just hit me, like every single time, like, okay, this is what we're doing. We can help. And this is sort of how everything fits together. Yeah.
He has a great legacy, and yeah, it's taped, so we have access to it. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Any parting words? I'll let you go. I know you're this is our Friday, and you've been lovely to take your time. Anything else you want?
I don't know anything else you want to know. I feel
No,
like
this
I've been
has been
rambling
lovely.
on.
No, this has been
Yeah.
lovely. Like the herbs, just hearing herbs and how you feel about them and where they go in sometime in your thoughts has been lovely. Like, and it's uh it's a part of our medicine. I don't think any one of us use enough. Like I know you're there, you're kind of surrounded by herbs, but I feel like most practitioners could use more herbal medicine in their,
Yeah, and
yeah.
I think if someone feels that way inclined, like it is a beautiful modality, and it is accessible.
Mhm.
And and then we didn't even talk about the topicals with herbs.
I was thinking that my niece broke her nose and she came to see you guys. And
Yeah.
so we didn't know about the topicals, and my office manager was ordering, and I think maybe had a conversation. Oh no, we read it's the website.
Oh,
We were
nice.
reading your website and she said, did you want to try this? And we're like, what? The topicals are amazing. And we got a bunch of topicals, and I mean, her face, running down the street, put her face back together, and then the topicals, she broke her nose, but she never swelled. She never
Yeah.
got bruises.
Yeah.
She got a mild swelling for the first couple of days. Then your creams came in, and it was shocking how little she was impacted by a significant face break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. And using her, like even with kids that may have colic or something like that, I use like the baby's bottom which has chamomile on it
Right.
over their bellies. And then I've been doing mustard plasters, which I think are
Ah,
essential for,
yeah.
for people to be able to use. And so coming into John's office and learning with him, I was like, oh yeah, this is it. This is like, I feel like I'm doing something that
Yes.
that is that I can feel with my hands. And I
Hands.
think I'm tactile, so like I can feel this, I can touch people, I can see the difference, I can smell the herbs, I can taste the herbs. It's like so close.
People need in-person care physically, and we need it we need to meet each other. We need to talk to each other physically. I know I love this virtual because we can do
Oh,
it, but
yeah,
as practitioners, you lose so much without your patient in front of you, and the new grads have this ability to do telemedicine, but applying a mustard pack, putting a cream on, that is all something that is it's very naturopathic. And
yes. Well, and
yeah.
even teaching, it's like teaching people how to do. It's like, well, I can demonstrate or do a few mustard plasters in the office,
Mhm.
and then somebody can take that home with them, and they
Yeah.
have tools.
Yeah.
Or like comfrey poultices, they can take that home, like, and have it once here and take it home with them. Broccoli sprouts, like topically, or
Mm.
honey salve. It
Yeah.
we did like a ginger steam for the kidneys, for kidney.
Oh.
Like so amazing, all of these therapies that are available to us, and then the herbs just bolster them in a whole other way.
Mm. The options are limited. So I guess that's what you're finding too, is you still see formulas that are surprising coming
Mm-hmm.
in. You still see new ideas.
Oh, totally. Oh,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah.
Okay, okay, I could talk forever. We'll
Yeah.
book another lunch. I'll come down and see you, and
Good.
I'll try. Yes, but
Yeah.
thank you for sharing. I think,
Oh, my pleasure.
yeah,
Thank
lots
you.
of like great
And
information, which I was like
thank
writing
you for
notes.
everything that you're doing with this.
We
I'm
love
excited.
naturopathic medicine.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we want to make sure that everyone knows that if not the details, that the love is there, and if they can catch some of the vibe, and dig in, there's lots of people they can talk to. There's lots of companies that could help. There's lots of offerings in Ontario, all over the world, that are people are doing great medicine. It's a good place. Like, if you're a naturopath, you've landed in the right spot. And then,
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's really the future of medicine.
yeah,
Right? And
yeah,
oh, what was I going to say? So John always wanted to work with naturopaths because he saw them as like the bridge between the city and the forest. So we could be in cities and bring the herbs to the people. Yeah. Whereas herbalists are often out in the country. And so they people from the city aren't able to be introduced to that way. But as naturopaths, we can do that.
we are. I guess I feel guilty for not being a farm naturopath, but I'm not. I am a city naturopath, and that's lovely. I
And
got
you can
goosebumps. That's
introduce
lovely.
those, yeah,
Yeah,
you get to introduce those concepts
yeah. And I
to
don't have
people
to
that
be
are
on the farm.
surrounded by concrete in a
Yeah,
tall
me
condo,
too.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I
right?
love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was lovely. I'm gonna think about that and be proud of our job, because that's what we do, and we
Totally.
do it well. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, we have that understanding.
Yes. All
Yes.
right. It was lovely talking with you, and you have a great Friday. And I will email you soon.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you
Take care.
soon.
Okay,
Bye.
take care, bye.